Okay, in this video we will create and execute a playbook to register NSX Manager with the vCenter single sign-on service. Now this is a single task playbook, and it has a module dedicated to it, an SSO registration module. And if you're in the GitHub training site, you can click on this link to access the full documentation for that module to learn more. Before we create the playbook, let's go ahead and just take a look and see what it is. Get into our task. We have a single tasker that creates the SSO registration, and you can see here that we're giving the same information that we would if we went in there, essentially the login information for NSX Manager to connect to the lookup service URL, and then to authenticate using, in this case, it's a good practice to make sure. In production, this would be, like I said, a dedicated service account, but lab production, what have you, it's a good practice to use a common account for both the vCenter and SSO registration. And our SSO password. So we'll go ahead and copy this information and create the playbook. So we'll go VI, this one we're going to call Register NSX SSO.yaml. You can see I've still got some typos in my documentation here. I'll get that fixed. So we'll create this. I'll hit the I button, I key, to change it to insert mode. Right click to paste it in that case something didn't copyright. So we'll go ahead and highlight and copy, paste again. Looks right. So press escape, :WQ, enter, and now we'll go ahead and run the playbook. And actually, before I run that playbook, I'm just going to clear the screen, and then we'll Ansible playbook. Oops. Register NSX SSO.yaml and hit enter. I'll pause this while that's executing. And that one ran very quickly, and we can see once again we have that debug statement in here, so we can see the full output of what will happen. Okay, and now let's go ahead and verify. We're going to run through, so we actually, following these instructions here in GitHub, right, we ran through the playbook. We got the output, OK to changed 1, that all looks correct, right? And so now we'll go into verify results. And so let's go ahead and do that. And the first thing we're going to do is go and check into NSX Manager. So we'll open up our session here, and this is still open from last time, so let me refresh it, and we should see that's different now. And now we can see we've got the lookup service URL there, and it's connected. And the next thing we're going to do, now that we've finished the NSX Manager deployment, we registered it to vCenter, and we have the SSO done, now we should be able to get access to our networking and security plugin in the vSphere web client. But you can't do that in the same browser session you already have open. You can actually log out or just close the browser session. In this case, I'll just go ahead and close it and open up a new tab. And sometimes the first time after you do that, it can take a minute to load because it has to load in all of the plugin information. So I'll go ahead and pause this while it's loading. Actually, one little error there. You can't just close the browser tab. You need to actually log out and then refresh, or you can close the browser tab, or in this case I've just completely closed the browser. And remember, when you log in here, we've been logging in with our Active Directory user account, administrator at corp.local. But in this case, if you remember, we registered NSX Manager using the administrator at vSphere local account. So let's type that, if I can see here. And sometimes the first time after plugin, again, it takes a minute to load. I'm going to pause this. Okay. And now we can see that we have the networking and security new plugin available to us here on the main inventory pane and also in the navigator bar. So go ahead and click on this. And then down on the bottom left of the navigator bar, we'll go ahead and click on NSX Managers, right? And so if you think about this in a production environment, typically when you have your NSX Manager connect to your vCenter, you're going to create a dedicated service account typically for that. And if this were like a service account, you'd have to log in with that service account the first time to be able to see this. Now, if you get to this screen and you see it says NSX Managers are 0, and you've already deployed the NSX Manager and you registered it, and you and it says it registered correctly, but you don't see it here, well, that is usually a sign that you didn't log in with the same username and password that you used to deploy, or sorry, to register it with single sign-on in vCenter. So typically you'll sign in with this service account, or in our case, administrator at vSphere.local. Go ahead and click on the IP address of the NSX Manager for the environment. And then we'll go to Manage, and we'll go Users, and here we'll add our account back. And you can add Active Directory groups and so on. In this case, I'm going to, vCenter groups. In this case, I'm going to enter in the user exactly. Local, and then click Next. And we're going to give that account enterprise administrator privileges and finish. Okay. And at this point, you can see here you've got your corp local administrator has privileges. So now, if you log out and log back in with your administrator password, you can fully access and manage the NSX Manager. And that completes not only the section, but that completes the first lab. You now have vCenter installed, you have NSX Manager installed, and we have it fully registered, and the plugin is installed and working, so that way we can start to configure the NSX services through this networking and security pane.